All right, guys, welcome to Unapologetically Me. This is our second episode, and I'm with Mopo. You'll see him on later today. However, today is the day for your top 10 point guards. And of course, I need my special guest. So,
Hello,
it's
everyone.
Evan. It's Evan. Okay. Me and Evan, how long have we been friends for?
Like 3 years? 4 years, 4 years. Three,
Three?
three years.
Are you sure three?
Yeah, since 22.
I thought it was 21.
Was it 21?
I don't
We
know.
met at the basketball tournament
Yeah.
with Coach Jim. When was that?
That was 21.
Okay, I'm bugged. My
No,
fault.
but I don't think you messed with me back then, though.
That's not true.
No,
You're
you
just
didn't mess
lying
with
on my
me.
name.
When I was taking those charges, you didn't mess with me.
You weren't taking charges on
Y-
pavement.
Yeah, what? Cable and
Alright.
Rashad were pissed off at me.
All right, man. I just faulty memory, I guess.
Faulty
My bad.
memory. All right. But anyways, I would see him a lot when I played soccer because if you guys didn't know, I used to play soccer a lot, and I see him on the PCI field, and he would just jump the fence all the time, and I wouldn't even know where he's going, but I'm just kicking the soccer ball around, and he would just come around and walk around. No.
Yeah. I was going to school at Holy Family, and being on time or waking up early was always a struggle for me. So to get to school on time, I would jump the fence, and I would leave my crib at school started at 9. I would leave my crib at like 8:55 to get to school by 9. It became such a habit that the teachers would hold the door open for me, knowing that I was gonna hop the fence. Yeah, and I would just see Two Top there playing soccer on the field.
In the mornings? I thought it would be like. Didn't we see each other
Sometimes in the
at-
mornings. It
sometimes in the
wasn't like
morning?
a always type of thing where I'd see you there. Just sometimes.
Oh. All right. Well, it's a close friend of mine. I think honestly, Eben has been like a big factor in my life where like he's just been so honest. And he's very intelligent, but not only just like basketball stuff, but just like real life stuff. So I appreciate that a lot, man.
You flatter me, man.
I flatter him.
Chill,
But
chill,
also, I
chill.
want to point out something cool. If we can just take his hat
No,
real
no, no, we're
quick.
not doing that. Listen,
it's,
it's a
it's
Yankees hat. He's been getting on me for we're having a Yankees hat. We're gonna update the hat wardrobe in a minute. A couple hats went missing,
Blue
but
Jays hat, right?
no, we're not getting Blue Jays hat.
You know what Vladdy said about the Yankees?
What do you say?
The Yankees lose.
I don't watch baseball.
You don't
I
get it?
care.
You have to watch. Okay, and you want to watch basketball, baseball? You guys know what I mean. But let's get right into it right now. So I have a couple questions I'm gonna ask you, Evan, and just like answer how you feel. But like, what is your testimony like? How did you get to know about Jesus?
Um, well, I was always raised in the church. My mom was a follower of Jesus, and I was kind of raised in that.
Okay.
I've been going to church since I was for as long as I can remember, really. Um, my when I was younger, my mom would have this sort of like competition with me to see who could read a book in the Bible faster, and whoever won would get like $10. I actually don't think she ever actually read it. Ooh,
Okay.
I don't think she ever actually read the book. I think she just let me win every time. So I would just get the ten
Oh, that's
bucks,
smart.
But I took that very seriously because I wanted the money. But I also learned a lot through that. It got me to understand who Jesus was and kind of what he promised for my life in
Mhm.
following him. I think, but
Some technical difficulties, but let's get back to the episode.
I think a big part of my walk with Jesus has been finding my community in Parkdale.
Mm.
Just being around people that were able to solidly guide me through what it means to be a young adult following Christ in
Mm.
today's age. I think that has helped me a lot in finding my identity in Christ. But there's a lot of struggles that come with that.
Right. Right.
Um,
I was gonna ask you about that. Like, what is like some struggles you have just like being a follower of Christ in like today's era?
yeah, I think a big one is the just amount of information, opinions that are being given constantly,
Mm.
with social media and whatnot,
Okay.
of how life ought to be and how you should go about living your life. I'm not saying that all those opinions are necessarily wrong, but some of them don't really align with how I view life should be when you're following Christ.
Okay.
Um, I think just following Jesus and being in this community taught me that who I am isn't necessarily dictated by the highs and lows of my own personal opinions of myself and my feelings, right?
Okay.
But it's instead rooted in something much bigger than myself, so that I should be confident in who I am because of Him and because of Jesus. I think that's helped me be a confident person more so than when I was younger. I think a lot of my confidence when I was younger was more bravado and fake confidence than
Okay.
actual like real confidence in who I was. Um, and yeah, I think that's been a ongoing struggle in my life,
Okay.
following Jesus and just being 100% certain in who I am and my actions and my thoughts and character. So
Mm.
yeah.
Okay. Because when I look at you and like when I see like how you act and stuff like that, like you're very. I think the word comes to me like confident, like you said, like I think you're very confident in yourself. Where like
Mm.
I can see like our group of friends and whatnot, like they all do their own things and stuff, but like you seem to be like very confident and secure in yourself. Like you mentioned like we just touched upon Jesus, but like how did Jesus come into play there? Like what did Jesus do there to make you like that? Because when I see you, I don't see someone like insecure. I like someone
Yeah.
very secure in himself. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying.
I think that was, at least until, like, for most of my life, it's been some reality and some facade.
Okay.
Not entirely, but a kind of extreme version of myself at times. I think it makes up for some of the areas that I feel like I'm lacking.
Okay.
Um, Trying to portray an overly confident person,
Hmm.
but I don't want to come off as if I'm not confident in myself in all areas of my life. I do think there's certain areas where I am confident in and not so confident in, but I think where Jesus came into play in sort of building that up is helping me be confident in my character,
Mm.
because you walk through life and there's a lot of trials and tribulations, I
Right.
guess you could say, that really try to test who you are and try to test what your morals are, what what your actions say about you,
Okay.
and what your thoughts have. I guess what your thoughts mean about you as well, because I think there's a lot of thoughts that people tend to have that don't necessarily align to who they believe they are. Intrusive thoughts, stuff
Mm.
like that. But I think Jesus sort of helps me like calm the wave of doubt that sometimes comes in my mind. And yeah, he's done a lot to help me in those areas, more so than I think I could have done by myself.
Okay. I don't know. Like when I hear you talk like that, it's like you mentioned trials and tribulations. I think in the book of James, I think it mentions how like trials and tribulation like builds character and endurance and all that kind of
Mm.
stuff. And like when I look at you, again, I'm not like just trying to like bother you up here or anything, but when I look at you, I definitely see someone who's like confident, like whatever those trials and tribulations may be. I think like it really worked to your benefit, or like you really took those experiences, or like you right now like you're really working towards it to really like benefit you and like really just grow who you are as a character. Because not only who you are, just like as a friend, but just like someone you are, just like as a family man, or just like the person, like the morals you have, like the character you are, like the character you are. You are very funny. You are very like outgoing sometimes, But I do think that like when people are around you, they feel much more at ease. You know, like you bring a certain type of light that is like it's pretty unique. Not just like the type of light where like the class clown or anything like that. I think like when people are around you, they can feel like they can be themselves. And so that's just from my opinion. Obviously, like
Yeah.
we can ask other people and whatnot. Just say their own things.
Hopefully we don't do a Q&A with
yeah,
other
hopefully we
people.
don't do a Q&A. No. But
Maybe some more polarizing opinions than you're letting off right now.
maybe some more polarizing. I wish I knew the words you say sometimes. Honestly, you use a lot of big words. I won't lie, brother.
Polarizing.
Polarizing.
It just means like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like there's one group of people that might say one thing, and then one group of people that might say the complete opposite, like polar opposites.
polar opposites. Okay, I guess like polar bears. Polar. Okay, I get. Okay, I get it now. All right. Given that, I think Jesus has given you a lot of passions, and one of those passions I know to be is basketball. And so
I dabble, I guess.
you dabble. He's lying. He really loves basketball. I don't. But
No cap.
we play on a Brody team together, actually. Me and a couple of us and a couple of our boys, and we've had. I'd like to say we had some successes. However, we never was able to win anything. And I want to ask you because like you're known as like on the team as the coach or just like the captain or whatnot. Like what are some things that we do well and what are some things we don't do well? Like what are the things that are limiting us from actually like winning something in that?
I think a part of what has been limiting us is someone or a consistent player on our team that is able to sort of see the court really well
Okay.
on a possession to possession basis. I think we have players that can do that. But I think there's sometimes where tunnel vision gets involved, and sometimes we try to, for example, in men's league, a lot generally teams like to play a lot of zone, and
Yeah, that's true.
instead of trying to work the zone really, sometimes on our team there's a tendency to try to take on the zone by yourself, which lends to what the zone wants you to do.
Like
You
hero
know?
ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm. We all have participated in that.
for sure.
So I'm not blaming anyone on our team. That's just how it is. Yeah. I think another thing is, I guess, mm, well, the Brody doesn't do us any favors with the court sizes, but that's
Oh
besides
my
the point.
gosh.
How the corners are completely
There are
shut off.
no corners. Literally, you can shoot the ball and be out of bounds at the same time. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's absolutely
You
insane.
can't. You can barely fit your foot in between the corner, behind the 3 point line, in the corner, and out of bounds. If you move at all, it's out of bounds. It's
Probably need
ridiculous.
like a one footer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
But
crazy.
I think we have a lot of athletes on our team. A lot of guys that can jump really high, run really fast.
That's true.
Not particularly a lot of shooting from those same guys necessarily on a consistent basis. So that's been an issue as well. I think though, like I just said, because of those athletes, it puts us at a advantage when we're attacking in transition. Defensively, I think that puts us at an advantage,
Right.
and it helps us be able to guard some of the, 6'6" guys, 6'7" guys, because
Right.
we have guys that may not be as tall as them, but they jump just as high, if not higher.
I'd say like they're more versatile.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when we play like on a full court, like we see in the gym, like in the TMU gym, like we
Yeah,
go this way, but when we go this way, I think we could actually like outrun them
for
and
sure.
like running gun and all that kind of stuff. I just feel like we're kind of limited with like the space that we have on the court and
Yeah.
like the clumping and like you like mentioned like hero ball. Sometimes like we all get into it. I know I got into it sometimes, and so it's just like I don't know. I think like you make a good point. Like we have a lot of good athletes on the team, like a lot of good athletes, but I feel like when we play against like zones or stuff like that, I think there's like some type of lack of effort, not only just offensively but defensively as well. I think sometimes like we just fall asleep or like we just
Oh,
don't.
off-ball defense is a big issue. That was my issue last season. Um, and from a few of our players, going back and watching some of the games, I think we can definitely tighten up on that, and that's a common error amongst young basketball players too.
Right.
So
Well, what do you think the importance of off-ball defense is? Like, how important do you think it is?
mm, I guess it's just trying to limit the amount of advantages that you can. I think when you don't pay attention off ball, then you're just giving up free advantages to the other team to try to catch it and make decisions for a greater period of time. For example, if you're not paying attention and then a screen comes pinned down, now you're trying to run an attack, close out on the man that just your man that just got that screen, and now he has all the time in the world to decide if he's gonna shoot it or if he's gonna attack the
Yeah, you're
closeout
just dead
with your
there.
momentum coming against you. So easy shots, easy baskets. You just want to prevent that and have what's in your control be in your control. You don't want to give up the margin of error because basketball is really a game of margins. Crashing the glass, um, off ball defense, um, fighting over screens, that kind of stuff. It doesn't show up in stat sheets or anything like that, but it definitely goes a long way in trying to compete with teams that are more talented than you or just as talented as you.
Mm.
But winning in those margins helps you a lot.
Right. Because like when I see you play, like something that I really admire about your game, I say, is the fact that you can like get through screens really well. And it kind of
Yeah.
annoys me. It kind of annoys me a lot because sometimes when I when I get the ball, like I don't have the ball, and I'm like when you're playing off ball defense, I'm trying to get around a screen, and for some reason you can always stick through it, or like you go under it, or you can go over it, depending on like who's screening me. And
Mm.
sometimes it pisses me off who's actually screening me because they're not actually doing a
Yeah,
good job
yeah.
for me. So it's just like
Screens is a very important thing.
yeah.
Making actual contact.
So what tips would you give people like who's
Fighting over
watching?
screens.
Yeah, fighting over screens.
Um, One, like if it's off ball, for example, you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you have a hand on that person
Okay.
and stay connected to them. If you're trying to just watch the person and see when they go, then you're gonna be caught off guard.
Mm.
If you keep a hand on that person, then you can feel exactly when they go and lock and trail if they're a good shooter, or if they're not a good shooter, you go under. Another thing is leading with your front foot, I guess, to get over the screen so that you can step around it
Your front
is
foot.
important if it's an on-ball screen.
Right.
And yeah, I think is getting skinny over the screen. So
Mm.
trying to sort of press into the man with the ball, not to the point of fouling, but just try to get closer, close that space. It does work to your advantage if the player is quick and can reject the screen, but that's sometimes the sacrifice you got to make if that person is also a capable 3-point shooter. So yeah,
Mm. Okay.
that's also a newer thing that I've gotten better at. It's not something that I was really good at. Like when I'm watching the Brody tape from even last season, it was really bad defense on my part. Like it was really bad. I did not like what I was seeing. At least early on. I haven't gone back and watched like later on in the season, but early on it was not good defense on my part. So
Like both on ball and off ball.
yeah,
Mm.
for sure. But yeah, you gotta work on the stuff that you can't necessarily do. So I
Right.
saw that I was lacking there and made improvements.
Yeah. No, I actually do like the fact that Brody has where we can like rewatch the games.
Yeah, for sure.
But for some reason, I still can't watch the games from last season. It's crazy. But I can watch the games from like 2 years ago or like one season ago. But like,
Don't worry, we'll get that situated later.
yeah, we need to get that situated later. However, now I think it's time for the main event. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know if they deserve it.
You
Maybe
don't
they
know.
do.
You don't know
Maybe
they
they
deserve.
do. I don't know.
Unapologetically, he deserves it. Okay.
All right, if
So
you say so.
how good is that time? Oh, we got 19 minutes. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so this is how we're gonna go. We're gonna do our top 10 point guards. However, we're gonna go like 3, 2, 1, and then that'd be our 10th, and then we go from 10 all the way to 1.
All right.
However, first, I think you need a. We'll name our honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But since you're my guest, I'll let you go first.
All right. First honorable mention. I'm not saying like this is my 11th guy. It's just some guys that I did think
Right.
about. My first honorable mention is Isaiah Thomas, not the IT, but Zeke. I do not have him in my top 10. Um,
Okay.
your turn.
How many honorable mentions are you gonna?
I got 3.
You got, okay, I
Yeah.
got 3 too. My honorable mention is Russell Westbrook.
I can see why he would
Mm.
be an honorable mention. To be honest.
Yeah, I was looking at I was just looking at all the point guards, and I just no, I couldn't put it. I'm so sorry to someone who's a big fan of Russell Westbrook, but
Yeah, we have a friend that might be watching this. You know, big Russell Westbrook.
I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry at the same time.
You know, just go. Got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah. All right. You're
The next guy I have off the list is Dame. I do think
Mm.
he has a case. I don't know if I like seriously considered him for like if he was, he would be 10th, and I don't know if I actually did seriously consider him. I do think a multitude of factors go into that. I
Okay.
think the longevity isn't really there. I do think that factors into it. I don't think at his peak he was necessarily. I do think his peak was pretty underrated in terms of 2023. I do think that's his best individual season. He averaged like 32 and was crazy on pull up threes that season. But his overall impact, I just don't see it matching up to the other point guards
Mm.
outside of those 3 seasons. And then it's like iffy in some areas. We can talk more about it later if you want.
Yeah. We probably
Yeah.
just brush through this honorable mention real quick though. My second one would be Tony Parker. I think that what he did for the Spurs franchise. I mean, I wouldn't have him anywhere near top 10. I would have him like maybe like I don't know 15. I didn't really think about it, but I was thinking about point guards and I was thinking about Tony Parker. And like you can't have him as like not an honorable mention to me. I have my reasons, but I'm just gonna brush through this real quick. But yeah, it's your turn.
My last honorable mention
Yeah.
is Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
I do think his peak gets eerily underrated.
When do you think his peak is?
I think it's Brooklyn. That's when I think his peak was. I think that's when you still have the athleticism that Mavs Kyrie is pretty lacking in. But that's when you get this uber efficient shot creator
Okay.
and difficult shot maker. I do think, it's very polarizing. I think you get people with wildly outlandish opinions on Kyrie, and then people that are just wildly low on Kyrie and just label him as some difficult shot maker that doesn't offer in other areas. I disagree with that a lot in that sentiment. But yeah, I don't think I didn't. I don't know if he would make my top 10 if I rethought about it. If I did it over again. So
Did it over again. Okay.
yeah,
The only reason why I let you talk like that long is because I got Kyrie as
yeah.
well. Okay. Now we're gonna go into our top 10. So we'll go. You want to go on one, or do you want to go 3, 2, 1? Blah blah blah.
We can go 3, 2, 1,
Okay.
and then go on one.
Okay.
All right. 3,
3,
2,
2, 1.
1.
Bob Cousy.
Walt Frazier.
Walt Frazier.
Yeah.
Okay. Why Walt Frazier?
I think he has a pretty long stretch of being one of the league's best defenders, as well as like for a point. I think he's in competition with being the best point guard defender ever. I think that having the stretch of being that level of defender and in an area where point guard shot creation and shooting was lacking, I think he offered that to a very high level. He had I don't know if he had like the most efficient seasons. I'm pretty sure he did. Someone can fact check me on that, but I think he had a very impressive run of being this just two-way demon, I guess, or angel, two-way angel. Yeah. I think Walt Frazier was just a very high impact player for a very long time. And he was very healthy. I think that also has to matter because the value that you bring to your franchise also matters. It also has to take into account how often you are there, in my opinion.
Right. I said Bob Cousy because Well, he doesn't like that I talk about the '60s or '70s
I
or
have my opinions on the 60s.
yeah, he has his opinions on the '60s and '70s. But I said Bob Cousy because I think he's just one of the original point guards. I think that he created what playmaking was before modern day came around. If I have his stats right now because I was thinking about it last night. He averaged 18 and 7 and 37 from the field, which isn't necessarily great.
That is horrible.
Okay.
But we relative to his era, it's not the worst.
No, and definitely he's definitely not like one of the point guards that like are listed above him. But I do think that there's a level of respect and like uh yeah, I guess like a level of respect that you have to give him for what he did for the point guard position. Sorry, and so yeah, that's why I have him number 10.
Okay. We all have our opinion.
You agree? Or do you disagree there?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
I do.
we can debate. We can debate it afterwards.
And it's not just 60s. It's not because he's in the 60s. I do have problems with the 60s, but I just don't think he's at the level of being a top 10 point guard personally.
We can talk about your problems with the '60s on a later episode then, maybe.
Okay.
All right. 9. So we'll go 3, 2, 1.
Russell
Jason
Westbrook.
Kidd.
Yeah, I have Russell Westbrook there.
Yeah, what's Westbrook there?
Yeah, I think. Matter of fact, I'll let you go first this time.
Jason Kidd. Oh, I think that Jason Kidd. When I was looking at him, I think that what he did for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, he did win a championship with the Mavericks back in 2011. He was very he was very old. I don't know if he was starting. I can't remember if he was starting. He was starting. Okay. But yeah, just in general, I looked it up. He had. I mean, I always knew he was a great player, but he's a 10-time All Star, 1-time champion, 6-time All NBA, 5-time assist leader, and 9-time All Defensive. Like when you look at that kind of stuff, I think Russell Westbrook is a great pick. I wouldn't like. He's one of the most talent. Russell Westbrook's one of the most talented basketball point guards of all time. However, he was nowhere near the defender that Jason Kidd was. I don't think he was nowhere near the playmaker that Jason Kidd was as well. And when you talk about scoring, I think Russell Westbrook definitely has scoring and rebounding over him and whatnot because he's so much like, I guess, versatile in that type of area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think that the way that he orchestrated the offense back in I think was it New Jersey Nets or Brooklyn Nets at the time?
New Jersey.
It was New Jersey with Richard Jefferson, Kenyon Martin, and all that kind of all those guys. I think that I think he did a great job orchestrating the offense and just yeah. No, I don't want to keep talking about this, but like yeah, you can go ahead and talk about Russell Westbrook.
All right. I have Russell Westbrook at 9 because I think he is the best downhill guard in NBA history.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
him getting to the rim at his size was something that you'd expect out of someone that's like 6'8". To be honest, it's like
How tall is he again?
he's 6'3".
6'3". I thought he was.
Yes.
Oh, I'm tripping.
He might be 6'4". I don't know.
I thought he was 6'6" for a second.
6'6".
I might be wrong. There's so many
that goes to my
players
point. He might be 6'3" and a half.
No, that actually does go to his point, though. Yeah.
I think why that's so amazing is because being able to get to the most important part, because even with the 3-point revolution, the most efficient shot at the rim is at the rim. I mean, most efficient shot in the game is at the rim.
Amen.
And just being able to get there basically whenever you wanted created so many opportunities for his teammates. And even though he wasn't like the best finisher, which is a gripe on Russ, even as time went on, because early on in like the 2010s, spacing wasn't what we thought of, what we think it is. In hindsight, there wasn't that much shooting, and especially on Russ's team on the Thunder when KD left, there was essentially no shooters at all, really. Yeah. But even later on, when he did get shooters on his team, when he had the Paul Georges, Carmelos, and then even further down the line, which isn't maybe the most fair to him, he still wasn't finishing at the rim great. Like on Houston, he wasn't. But I still think there's a lot of value in getting downhill because now the defense has to react to that because you can't just let a man walk to the rim. That's just stupid. So you have to protect the rim, especially when it's Russ that gets there as often as he did, with as much relentlessness as he did. And for certain points in his career, he had a solid mid-range game as a counter. He was great connecting with his big men. I think some things that knock him down is his decision making at times. He was very turnover prone. He just his shot selection was very poor to say the least. So I think that stuff culminates in him being ninth for me.
Do you think he should be in the league right now?
I think he's better than a lot of players that have signed contracts. Yeah.
What team do you think he should would fit with him, or that he could significantly help?
I don't know. I don't know if what playoff team would necessarily want Russ, but
Because it would have to be a playoff team.
I guess or it could just be a I don't know, Utah that wants him to come in and mentor some of their young point guards. Washington maybe. I don't know.
Or Westbrook. You got Jamal Shed on the Raptors if you want to come by.
Would you have him on the
No,
Raptors?
I wouldn't have him on the Raptors.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, would you have him on the Raptors?
Yeah. Sabotage.
Crazy, man. I would have him on the Warriors. Let him start over Steph.
Wow.
All right. We're at what? 8 now?
8, yeah.
Damn. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Steve
Jason
Nash.
Kidd.
Okay. Okay. Why do you say Jason Kidd?
Okay, when I was talking about Walt Frazier being one of the best point guard defenders, I think Jason Kidd and him are fighting for that best point guard defender ever spot. I think what Jason Kidd offered as being this backline sort of not rim protector, but just making plays, stopping the ball, being in spots before certain things even materialize. It really showed his IQ one, and he was a big guard, like really big and strong, so he could. And it offered him flexibility in taking on some bigger matchups. I think he's one of the best passers ever. When we're talking about the skill of making passes, he was one of the most creative passers and one of the best transition playmakers ever. It is just incredible what he used to do in transition. I do think he is just a, during his peak. I think he was just a bad scorer. Just say it bluntly. I think he was a bad scorer. He wasn't good around the rim at finishing. He couldn't shoot. They called him Asen Kid because he was missing a J during his prime.
I didn't know that.
I don't participate in that kind of stuff. I'm very respectful to players mostly.
That's such a lie. Why are you lying?
Chill.
That's such a lie.
Airing out my business, bro. I'm trying to leave a good impression.
Okay, I said Steve Nash. One, to your point, you mentioned how or Asen Kidd or Jason Kidd, how he wasn't a good scorer or at his peak. I think Steve Nash at his peak was a very efficient scorer or a very efficient player. I keep saying Barnum for some reason, but he was a very efficient scorer. He also, I think that he kind of was ahead of his time with the Phoenix Suns. They played a very spaced out game. I think 2007 or 2008 was it? But it was it's kind of the way that not to the level the Warriors were playing, but it was way more spaced out than it was I say back then, but back then 2008, if you know what I mean. If you look at teams at the time the Celtics or the Lakers, they're mainly the Lakers were playing the triangle, but if you look at the Celtics, because they're just one of the more popular teams back then, they weren't really playing like the Phoenix Suns. I think the Phoenix Suns had a very more fluid and more more ball movement. They also you could also attribute that to the snipers that they had around them, or more the shooting around they have around them, but also just what he did with the pick and roll as well with Amari Stoudemire. That's just those kind of things are just legendary. He was a 5-time assist champ and also a career 49% from the field. Those kind of things are just I think that's why I would have him. I think I have Jason Kidd 9. That's why I have him over Jason Kidd.
Yeah. I do also have Steve Nash higher than Jason Kidd.
Okay.
He will be showing up on my list later on. Spoilers. But yeah, I agree with most of the stuff you said. I don't necessarily agree with the ball movement. The I don't think the Suns were very heliocentric. It was like Steve Nash ball all the time. Essentially, him making
I could be
decisions and
wrong about
creating
that.
for other. I don't think the Suns necessarily had the decision makers to have this sort of free flowing offense, which probably goes to your point about Steve Nash being this incredible passer, because people do remember it, I believe, for being this ball movement sort of system. When in my opinion it was sort of just Steve Nash. So I think
That's
because
fine.
of him,
Yeah.
people view it a certain type of way, which shows how great he is and offense. I'll go into more in depth in my thoughts about him later on.
Right. He also was a two-time. Was it two-time
Two-time
MVP?
MVP.
Yeah, two-time MVP. Shaq is still mad about that.
Yes.
Okay. Three. We're at seven.
Whoa.
We're at seven right now.
All right.
Uh,
3.
2, 1.
Stockton.
Jerry West.
Mm.
What do you say, Stockton?
I think did I go first last time with Jason Kidd? You go first.
Oh, I go first. Okay. I think that what Jerry West did for his time. I mean, number one, he's a logo. There's like reasons why he is a logo. He is a one-time champion and a one-time Finals MVP. Uh, I just think that what he's done for the game and also just who he was as a player, I think he was way above his time. Like I know you have your problems with the '60s and '70s and whatnot, but I do think I remember we talking about it. I think like Jerry West is one of those people that you do respect as a basketball player from those times.
I do.
Yeah, and I think that he was also like a really great defense. He was. Oh, never mind. I lost it now.
I agree with that. He was a
He was a
very
five
good
time all
defender.
defensive. He was a 5-time all defensive player. He was a great scorer. I'd say. Although he was playing with Wilt Chamberlain when he won in '71. Or no, that's Oscar Robertson. Sorry, he was playing with Wilt in Wilt's later ends of the year. But I just do think that 14-time All Star, 12-time All NBA. Like I think that who Jerry West as a player, he was a great scorer. He was a great defender. He also could pass the ball, not to levels of like the point guards that we mentioned before, but I would say that above Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and Bob Cousy, I would have him Jerry West at 7.
I also have Jerry West on my list. A lot higher though.
A lot higher. Okay. You said Stockton, right?
Yeah, I said
Yeah.
John Stockton.
Okay.
I think okay, one part we probably should have done this earlier, but I do have a criteria for my list.
Okay.
I think number 1 is impact.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is how good you are at your very best, so your peak. Number 3 is longevity. This is in order of how I value it. I think versatility does matter to me quite a bit.
At the guard position, yeah, that makes sense.
And the last one, I do have a slight air tax, and it's not just because of that time. And the '60s is so much worse than today's era. I
Sure.
think is within your own era, how good is the competition that you're facing compared to yourself? I don't think it's fair because, for example, if you look at the '80s, right, you have the top 10 players in the league, very good. Top 10 players. You have like Kareem, Magic, Bird.
Bird,
You have
McHale, Jordan.
Kevin McHale, Michael Jordan. All these type of players. But then once you get past 10, it's like a big drop off, right?
Mhm.
In today's era, I think it's a lot more. Like
Okay.
there's like 15 players that people will die on that are in the top 10
Like a lot
instead
more
of said
depth.
player. Yeah, instead of, for example, Steph or LeBron or like Ant. People have crazy ranges of where they think Wemby is right now. I think
They do.
so. It's harder for someone, in my opinion, today to be this outlier of a player in the league and go on this dominant run in their own era in comparison to before, where they once you're getting like past the top 10, it's kind of like very high impact role players. I guess a lot of people would struggle to even call them role players, but you know, that's how I view it, I guess. But yeah, in terms of John Stockton though, after that long tangent,
It's okay.
I think his case kind of does rest with longevity for me. He
Okay.
played an absurd amount of seasons. I'll just look it
Wasn't
up
like
quickly. Like it's
I thought
insane.
it was like it wasn't 85 to like 2003.
Yeah, but it's not just the amount of seasons that he played,
Like the
it's
games
the
he
amount
played.
of games he was
Okay.
playing every single year. He played 19 years in the NBA, and I think there was only one year where he didn't play damn near the full season, and that was like 1997, I think. Every other year, it's 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 78,
Yeah.
82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 50, which was a lock-off season, 82, 82, 82, 82. This is just Iron Man on a different level. And I think that's a lot of value, and I don't think his peak necessarily matches up to the rest of the point guards, but I do think he was a very good player. There's a little bit of habit of bashing his skill, which compared to where other people have him, I do kind of understand. But I think he was a great passer.
Mhm.
I struggle with his
Scoring.
scoring a lot. I think he was a good scorer. I don't think he was this like good. I think he was a solid scorer. He was a good shooter, really good shooter. He couldn't score at the rim consistently. Um so it's like a lot of the advantages for the Utah Jazz were created by, you know, the pedophile on their team. Um,
Okay. One way to.
yeah, we offer no respect for Karl Malone.
Okay.
Me at least, I don't.
No
I'm
mail
joking.
coming in today.
No, I'm not joking about that. But a lot of the advantages for the Utah Jazz were created by Karl Malone's ability to score and John Stockton capitalizing on that,
Mhm.
which he did successfully a lot.
For sure.
But I do think there's a correlation between playmaking and your ability to score. When you're a better scorer, the reads become a lot wider because now teams have to overly adjust to your ability to score. That's why I think some of the best scorers ever are also some of the best playmakers ever. I don't think that's by coincidence. I think that's just how basketball is played and how you impact the game in general. Um, and I do struggle with that with John Stockton. But his longevity, how long he was playing for, and yeah, I think that's undeniable. One thing to say, early on in his career, his team's offense, when it was kind of just John Stockton show, was not quite good. The team rapidly improved offensively when it was Karl Malone being the head of the offense. So I do think that kind of signifies, yeah, the less of John Stockton as the years went on and more of Karl Malone, which God forbid we get more Karl Malone, but
Just
they
call
did.
him. Yeah. So you just you can just brush it off.
I think that signifies kind of the impact that John Stockton had. It was great, and but I think most of his case rests on how long he played for. So yeah,
And you had Stockton at 7, was it? Was it? Are we at 7?
7.
Okay, yeah, we go into depth about this.
I'll
Okay.
go less in depth on the
No, no,
rest.
no, it's okay. I mean, if you feel the need to. 3, 2. Wait.
Whoa!
Hey, my bad. Okay, my bad.
All right,
3, 2, 1. Chris
Oscar
Paul.
Robertson.
Oscar Robertson. Okay.
Yeah,
Why do you say Oscar Robertson right now?
I think I think Oscar Robertson is one of the better, one of the best offensive players ever. If we're talking about like tiers, I would have him sort of the second tier of great offensive players.
Offensive, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
scoring offensive.
just offensive.
Yeah.
But I do think he was a great scorer as well. He was kind of one of the pioneers of jump shooting in the
Mm-hmm.
league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Before there was a 3-point line, I do think he took advantage of and consistently took advantage of the space that teams were leaving him. I think he was really good in transition, great in transition. He was a great passer and playmaker. Um, and yeah, he wasn't that good defensively. He was like, if we're being generous, it was kind of just average defensively. If you want to be harsh on him,
Yeah.
if you want to be harsh on him, he was a bad defender. I'm kind of in the middle, but I think John Stockton was great, and I have him at 7.
I would
Oh no, 6. I have him at 6.
6. Yeah,
I have him at 6.
I have Chris Paul at
Excuse the weird frame. I get technical difficulties, but we're working on it. Thank you for your patience.
6. I think say um someone at his size is actually kind of like someone like Kyle Lowry. Like we talk about him like being in the league for that long, how
Yeah.
like how crazy it is. Like I think he's damn near like our size, or I mean maybe like an inch taller. I don't
around
know.
there.
Around there, yeah. I think Chris Paul is around the same like size or height as well.
Around there also.
Yeah, I don't.
It's
I'm
not a big discrepancy.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not big on that kind of stuff. But he is a 9-time all defensive player, which I think at someone at that size, if you're an all defensive player, it's something that sets you apart from guards in today's modern day era, especially if like
Dude, yeah.
you're going against like players like Stephen Curry's or the likes of Damian Lillard or the likes of Kyrie Irving. It's not like it's going to be a walk in the park for them, especially because like someone like Kyrie Irving can like simply like we mentioned he's our honorable mentions. Like
Yeah.
he abuses. I like to think he abuses like his like if he has any size advantage, especially with like he can post up against like
He
taller
posts up
people.
taller
Yeah, taller
players all the
people.
time. Yeah.
So if it's someone like Chris Paul and at his height, like that would probably be lunch meat for him. But the fact that Chris Paul is a 9-time all defensive player, I think that goes to show just like how good he is as a player.
I think Chris Paul was actually really good at handling post up against bigger players. You know, with
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
his low center of gravity and his strength. I think he handled that really well.
yeah, and
So, shout out Chris Paul.
I also think he's one of the greatest passers of all time as well.
I agree.
I think that what he did for the and you can say you can look at all the highlights of like the Lob City Clippers and whatnot, but you also can like you can like I don't think people really acknowledge or see what he did for JJ Redick's career or what he did for someone like Matt Barnes after coming off of playing with the Lakers, like someone who like kind of I wouldn't say reinvented, but like the fact that JJ Redick got let's say an offer from he ended up playing with Philly afterwards,
he
I
did
think.
play for Philly for
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah. So I
A
think
little
like
while.
someone like JJ Redick needs someone like a Chris Paul or someone like that to get them the ball. And so I think that the way Chris Paul just orchestrated the offense, he also was a 12-time All-Star, I think. He was
Been an all-star for a long time.
yeah, an all NBA player for a while as well. So I think just like yeah, someone at his size, I think that yeah that contributes a lot to him being at 6 for me. We're at 6 right now. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
at 6. Yeah, yeah. So he also yeah 5-time assist leader. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But let's get into 5 now.
Okay.
All right,
3,
3, 2, 1. John
Steve
Stockton.
Nash.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean we already made our points for about each other.
Yeah, I do
But-
think just a little bit more on Steve Nash. I think he was. This might hurt my point. I do think he was competing for being the worst defender in the league.
For sure.
That's one thing.
He was no Chris Paul.
He gave effort, very different from Chris Paul in that. He gave effort on defense, but being his size and his level of athleticism, it did hinder him a lot on that side. But more offensively, I think he is the best player in the pick and roll, in my opinion. I do think that's a conversation between two other players, maybe. He created layups like it was the easiest thing ever for him. He was, in my opinion, like bare minimum, a top 3 passer playmaker ever. Yeah, he was fantastic in that space. He was an elite pull-up shooter in any space, on every level, mid-range, 3-point shooting, free throw shooting. I think he was elite, one of the 5 best shooters, 10 best shooters ever, 3 best shooters if you want to say that. I wouldn't push back too much.
Steve Nash, yeah.
Um, one of the best ball handlers ever.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like cross people over a lot, but he would keep his dribble alive through the tightest of areas in the paint and just carve out advantages looking for passes to make or scoring opportunities. I do think a big difference between someone like John Stockton and Chris Paul, I mean, not Chris Paul, and Steve Nash for me, for example, is just how they were able to put so much pressure on the defense.
Okay.
Their averages in terms of scoring volume is similar. John Stockton might actually have him beat in a couple of years, to be honest. But if you go and watch them play, you cannot stop Steve Nash from scoring. You just can't. He would, yeah. That's why I don't think scoring volume is all that. It's not the end all be all. It does matter, but you even saw Steve Nash up his volume in certain playoff series and when it's needed. So yeah, I value Steve Nash very highly.
Okay. I mean, you already talked about John Stockton earlier, but just to go off of what you talked about, he is a career double double. I think he averaged 13 and 10,
Something crazy.
something crazy like that.
Something
Yeah,
crazy.
I do think uh he didn't necessarily cross people up like you mentioned about like Steve Nash, but I do think that he is one of the greatest passers of all time. I also do think that he is significantly better than Steve Nash on the defensive end of the
He
floor.
is.
And yeah, 9-time assist champ, 10-time All Star. I think that what he did for the correlations you made with he who shall not be named and and John Stockton. I do think I'll give you credit to that. He wasn't a great scorer. He was nowhere near the score that Steve Nash was, but I think that's something that just separates Steve Nash from someone as the likes of John Stockton is just the defensive end of the floor. I don't think I can get over that, and so that's why I have him over. I mean, I have him over. I have John Stockton over a lot of people besides Steve Nash because he was at 8 for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh,
I mean, that's fair. I would have. I do think there's a argument to be made. I just value Steve Nash's peak very highly,
sure,
and
yeah,
I don't think. I think in terms of offensive players, I don't know. I wouldn't have a conversation to be honest between the two, but there's not a conversation between the two defensively
yeah.
either. So and the longevity.
All right, we're at 4 now.
We are at 4.
Okay, we'll go 3,
2.
2, 1. Big
Chris
O.
Paul.
Okay,
Yes. Um, if we're talking about strictly relative to era, I think I went first last time. You go first.
me.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a lot of the things that I was going to touch upon about Oscar Robertson. I was watching, honestly, like I was thinking about it last night. I was like, man, I can't even like think of all the great point guards. So I chat GBT this. I saw a bunch of point guards, and I was like, oh my gosh, I
It's
forgot
hard
about.
to think of the
It's
names.
hard.
Yeah.
I damn near forgot about Jerry West. I was like, I put Russell Westbrook in there. I damn near forgot about Jerry.
We're getting
West.
a lot higher. I still haven't said Jerry West. So.
Yeah, like yeah. So, yeah. So I just think that I think his nickname was like Mr. Fundamentals before even like Tim Duncan was I think probably born or something like that. I don't know. That's
Could
just
be.
something
I don't know.
that's just something I saw. But yeah, he again, I would say like you mentioned like the importance of like Arrow and like who he played against. I do think he was way above his time when it comes to like jump shooting. I think a lot of
He
teams
was.
like yeah, like a lot of teams like were sagging back then, especially because with the fact that he played with the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Obviously, they want to play down low a lot more, but Oscar Robertson, he was just so above his time. Like when you like, I guess when I was watching him play last night, it was so clear to me that he could genuinely score the ball. He won. He's also a champion,
Yeah.
a Finals MVP. He even with Kareem on his team, like things like that is just like, I think he's a career like 25 points per game scorer. It's just like
Something crazy.
something crazy like that. It's just like, and he also wasn't a horrible passer. You do make a good point where you made a good point about him like not being a great defensive player or like just not being a defensive player whatsoever. I don't know what you said exactly for sure, but something around that.
I believe I said some people if you want to be generous, you'd call him above average. If you want to be harsh, you'd call him below, like horrible.
Sure, yeah.
But
I just
I
like,
think he's slightly below average, like
yeah.
around there.
I just, I don't know, like someone like who can score the ball at that level, especially with someone with like Kareem on his team, like it's just, I don't know. For me, it takes a cake for me.
Yeah,
You mentioned Chris Paul, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think before I handed the mic to you, figuratively, I guess I was gonna say if you're talking about strictly comparing, or like strictly relative to their own era, I do see a lot more conversations with um not John Stockton, Oscar Robertson. I do see that being a lot more of a conversation in my mind.
Okay.
But like I said, I do have an era tax. I don't. I think in terms of strictly the amount of talent in the league, I do think some of the years there was not a lot for Oscar Robertson. I think in the 70s there was a lack of talent more so than even the 60s. Um, Despite the league growing in size, um, when did the league expand? When did the league combine with the ABA?
Combined with the ABA, I'll have to do my research about it. I think when Oscar Robertson was popping off, he was in the ABA at the time, but
Yeah, regardless, I do think
yeah.
there was when I was watching the games, I do think there was some challenge. There was some gripes with just the overall talent level, even compared to the 60s. Um, but CP3, I think he is this very polarizing player. I didn't know that a lot of people didn't think he was a phenomenal point guard. I think they more so think he was kind of good but not great. Um, if you're on Twitter or X, you see a lot of people debating whether it's Kyrie or CP3. I don't think that's a conversation in my mind.
Kyrie or CP3 and what?
Who's the better player?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't see that as a conversation in my mind
yeah, me
personally.
either.
But
And I love
similar
Kyrie.
vein, my bad. What are you saying?
I said, I love Kyrie, but I don't think that's the
Yeah,
discussion.
similar vein to someone like Steve Nash. His volume fluctuated at his very best in terms of scoring from 20 to 17 ish. But like Steve Nash, you couldn't stop him from scoring. He was phenomenal at manipulating the pick and roll. I do think he was. I don't know if that's a hot take. I think he's a better pick and roll player than someone like John Stockton. I do think John Stockton sort of like pioneered the pick and roll to volume. I do think CP3 was better. I think he had more passes. Um, John Stockton wasn't throwing lobs, which you might not value that very highly, but I think that matters when you're where you're placing the ball
Mm-hmm.
to best utilize your players' advantages.
For sure.
I think CP3 was a better pull-up shooter than a lot of the names that we said previously. I think he was a good catch and shoot shooter. I think he had some years where he could get to the rim, his younger years in New Orleans. Um, but overall, I don't. He didn't put a lot of pressure on the rim. But when you're hitting the mid range at the clip that he did, and you force the big to have to come up and respect that, it offered so much more advantages to and lended so much more advantages to his passing. That's why I view him as being one of the best playmakers ever as well. Defensively, I think he's one of the best point guard defenders. Also, I don't know if
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
like a top 5, top 10. I don't know because you throw in
Yeah,
defensive specialists in there too.
sure. Like Gary Payton or something.
I think Gary Payne's better than him defensively. Well, Gary Payne also had a conversation to make this list. Also, that's
I was gonna have him on
yeah.
honorable
That he
mentions.
had he has a conversation to be on this list too. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Was it like him and Marcus Smart, the only guards to ever win it?
DPY,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beside the point.
I would
Not
have
relevant.
disagreed with both of them probably. I don't know about Gary Payne's. Yeah, that's another conversation. But um, defensively, Chris Paul was great in the point of attack. His hands were phenomenal. He was small, but it was hard to take advantage of him in situations where it usually had lends to bigger players, like in the post, because of his low center of gravity, his strength. It was hard for bigger players to post him up.
Mhm.
What else? I think he was just this insane floor raiser of offenses, and not even just that. He complemented other players really well, also. Well, you can see that on the Houston Rockets with a very ball dominant player like James Harden. He
Mhm.
complemented him very well. When you ask him to just be the sole creator on your team for most
Do
of the
that.
lineups, like on the Hornets, Clippers, you had other creators for them, self creators like Jamal Crawford, and Lou, but
Luo.
yeah, Lua, but no, they didn't really create offense for other people like that.
Mhm.
He excelled in those roles too. He had a great connection with any big man that you put him with, whether it's a stretch big, uh roll bigs only like DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. That's kind of selling Blake Griffin short, but he fully utilized their strength.
Sure.
Someone like DeAndre Ayton, getting him in the pocket so that he could showcase his phenomenal touch,
Mhm.
throwing. Yeah, it was just a lot of stuff with Chris Paul and his longevity. I think he's been in the league for how long?
I think he got in 2003. No, not 2003. Sorry.
He's been in the league for so long, and he's been an impactful, like a super high impactful player until like 2022. That's 17 years, in my opinion, where he was this phenomenally high level impactful player. It's hard for me to say that
Yeah.
you know that longevity doesn't trump a lot of other players, and combined with his peak for me. So yeah,
Okay. All right. We're at what, 3 now?
we are at three.
Oh, we're winding down now, huh?
Mm-hmm. Crunch time.
Okay.
Three.
2, 1.
Jerry
Zeke.
West.
You can go. You can go ahead.
I have Jerry West at three.
It is the debate. We can always change it up. Are you crying?
No, I'm not crying. Dust got in my eyes.
There ain't no dust in this room, guys. No dust.
My third place is Jerry West. I think he was an elite shooter for his time. Not just for his time. I think he was just an elite shooter. Period. He was pulling up from 3 point range before there was a 3 point line and hitting them at an elite clip. There's no numbers to back that up. You have to watch it. He was he was huge for a point guard. Because of that, a lot of people don't think he was actually a point guard. They think he was a shooting guard. If
That
you
is true.
look at him, he from I think every season but two he played point guard. If you go on Basketball Reference, for example, um, I think he was no, not I think he was an elite defender. In my opinion, he was great in passing lanes, offered rim protection, good point of attack defender, long athlete. He was one of the most athletic players in the league at the time. Um, he this is where I have problems with different eras, but he was this ambidextrous player, so he could go left, he could go right, good ball handler.
Hmm.
Um, I think he was a good passer for certain stretches of his career, not early on, but later on in his career, I think he was a good passer. Yeah, I'm very high on Jerry West. I think he translates to almost every era seamlessly. He played good off ball, and I think I shortcut his scoring. I think he's one of the greatest scorers ever, point blank. Period.
Jerry West?
I think he's was the best scorer in the '60s. I don't think
Oh, you
anyone
said
else was.
ever.
Yeah, not the best, just one of the best.
Oh, okay.
I think he was the best scorer in the '60s. I think his scoring translated
I'm
to the
not gonna argue
playoffs
that.
more often than it did for Will Chamberlain. Because when you look at Will Chamberlain in the playoffs, his scoring almost always dropped down to 30s, even with the increased pace. and that's another issue I have with the '60s. The pace inflated a lot of scoring averages and just averages in general. But Will Chamberlain's routinely dropped from 50 to 30 ish in the playoffs. Jerry West went from 30s to 40s very consistently in the playoffs. Very, very consistently. Um, and when you look at how well rounded and versatile his game was, while still maintaining almost not almost, he was the lead on every level of scoring as well. I think that made him a better scorer than Will Chamberlain for the duration of the '60s. I think you have years where Will Chamberlain was a better scorer, but that's also comes with when he was a better playmaker and passer, so that teams actually have to respect the fact that he was going to give up the ball instead of just going over whoever was in front of him. He was also efficient, unlike Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain was like barely above average efficiency compared to the league at the time. Jerry West was um, by a good amount. So yeah, when I combine all that fact, I have him at 3, and I'm interested to see why you have ZK.
I'll make it quick because I want to get to 1 and 2. But I think Isaiah Thomas or Zeke at 2. We can just look at. I mean, we can talk about like his finals run or his playoffs runs, like playing against Michael Jordan and the Bad Boys Pistons and all that kind of stuff. However, I do think there's a certain level of a certain level of respect you have to give him. You left him in your honorable mentions, yeah. I just think that the level of scorer that he was on that team, especially with like the people that he had around him, it was so like defense heavy there. Like you have people like Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer. I think Joe Dumars was a great defender as well. He was Joe Dumars was probably the closest thing you had to like a second option on that team. But I just think like he was, I think a career 17 per game scorer. Uh oh, that's my sister, guys. Um, but yeah, you want to come say hi? Okay, she doesn't want to come say hi. But yeah, I think he was an average, and he still managed to average 9 assists per game. He was horrible from the three. He shot like 29% from three. But I do think that yeah, he did. But I also think like the level of handles that I think what you were mentioning before, like the fact that Jerry West can go right and left, he was very he had a lot of handles to him. He had a lot of wiggle to him. He can go right, he can go left. He was I think there was even this one clip where he was just like showing off there. I didn't think it was really showing off. It was just weird. He was just sitting down dribbling the ball with both hands, like things like that. But I think he was way above his time. Again, when it comes to like his handles and whatnot. I also think he was a like not one of the greatest passers, but he was a good passer. And as a defender, he wasn't great. But when you look at the likes of like someone like Steve Nash or something like that, I don't think there's an argument that you can make to. Um, I mean, I'll hear an argument out, but I wouldn't. I'm not necessarily teetering towards Steve Nash being a greater point guard than Isaiah Thomas. But yeah, those are my reasons. I can go into more. He was a one-time Finals MVP, I think 12-time All NBA player. But um, yeah, those are my reasons for the three. But I don't think there's a point to say 1 or 2 because um,
Yeah,
we know our 1 and 2s and we don't agree with them. So
we don't.
uh, who do you have one?
I have Stephen Wardell Curry at number 1.
And I have Irvin Magic Johnson. So that means he has Magic Johnson at 2, and I have Stephen Curry at 2. So why do you have Steph over Magic? What time is it? Oh my gosh. 8:45.
Okay. I think let me just go over Magic real quick. I think Magic is an incredible player. I think he could be your number 1. I wouldn't fight back too much. I would definitely fight back, but it's not like I'm fighting to the death over that. I think a big problem for me is one the amount of years he played. He played 13 seasons total. I
Mm-hmm.
think in terms of being this super all-time level player, I think it's like I think a lot of people envision him being the best player in the world for a lot longer than he actually was. In my opinion, it was like 86 to 90. I
Like
think that's when you have. That's when, in my opinion, I would say he's the best player in the world.
for those 4 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
and obviously that's relative to competition as well. But I think if you're just talking about all-time level player, is those 4 years, and then the other years are kind of hyped in my opinion. I don't think I think they're great. I think they're really really good, really really great. I don't think I think first his rookie season, he was an all-star level player in my opinion. I think that gets overhyped because of the Finals MVP and whatnot. Uh, I don't know how much time we want to talk about it. If we're strapped for time or whatever, but
A bit strapped, but we can go.
yeah. I think, like I said, those seasons outside of the four that I mentioned were really really great. But when you compare it to Steph, who's had what 16 to most people would say 22, that's like 6 seasons of being all-time seasons in my opinion, or 5 all-time seasons. But then you have other high-level seasons, and then the longevity. I think he's going year 17 now. It becomes a lot, in my opinion. I think neither one were really super high impact defenders. I think Magic at his very very best in his rookie season, in my opinion, was a better defender than Steph. But if we're comparing 3 or 5 year stretches, I don't. I think Steph was a legitimate good defender in 2022. I think that's his best year as a defender. Other years he's teetering average, and I think Steph has more average defensive seasons than Magic.
Mm.
I'd say average from 2027 to, if you want to say 2023,
2027.
2017. I mean, my
Oh.
bad.
I was like, what? Are we there yet already?
2017? Hopefully he plays for that long. Hopefully he does. If you want to say from 2017 to 2023, maybe I'd go 2022 and that's it. But then Magic is like, what year would I say really?
86 to 90, I believe.
I don't think he was a good defender those years. I think he was like legitimately hurting his team defensively when he was at his best offensively. Because you lose his athleticism. He's not making the same plays in the passing lane. He's not. He wasn't much of a rim protector to begin with, but then he's protecting the rim even less. Another thing is, I don't think he was a very versatile player. I don't think so at all. He was a very on-ball dominant player.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't. I remember. I think I read it somewhere. I'm not sure, but he reportedly got into like a lot of fights with the front office about
Oh, I didn't know this.
when they wanted to change up the style of him not being the point guard, I guess. And he was just very adamant against it. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I want the ball. I'm gonna play with the ball. Yeah, I think one thing is that I have a problem with Magic is his half court scoring.
Yeah,
His half
you
court
have, you
scoring
have a big
is
problem with
not
that.
great to me. But that's not true. I think it was actually no. I don't think it was great. I think he was a good half court scorer. I think he could abuse mismatches. And to my actually, I remember I was watching the '91 finals with the Bulls
Oh,
and the
yeah,
Lakers.
right, yeah.
Magic was frying Jordan defensively. Like he was frying him. It got me really questioning Jordan's defense in general. He was frying him, not just scoring because his efficiency doesn't look great in that series, but he was just getting him in the post. Jordan would reach, Magic would spin or go and do a move, and then he would make just a lot of different reads and passes and whatnot. But yeah, he was good at taking mismatches in the post. He was solidly quick for his size, so you couldn't put a big on him.
Right.
You could put some forwards on him, and to varying successes. He was good at finishing around the rim. He had like a set jump. He had the set shot like, from the mid range. You know, he's just like he would stand there for 3 seconds and then shoot it. He did become an elite mid range shooter. after to the end of his career, which I think is valuable. He was I know he is one of the best transition players, like top three in my opinion, bare minimum
course,
transition
for
players
sure.
ever. But I think especially in the half court when it becomes more what can you create in the what can you create in this situation? You find Magic just standing around a lot, looking for post entry passes into James Worthy, Cream, and whatnot, looking for the pass, hitting that, which is valuable. Actually, hitting
Mm.
the hitting the post entry because I don't post ups aren't common now, but
No, no.
so players are kind of losing the ability to do that. But then you have Magic kind of like standing around, hovering. It's like, oh. But then he was a pretty good cutter. Um, it's just conflicting ideologies to me with his ability to actually be this all time level half court creator, which I value a lot more than other things, in my opinion.
Okay. I talked to you about it a lot. I will go back and forth on Steph, or on Steph and Magic. If Steph being number one, Magic being number one.
No, that's my first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my first time.
I never told you that.
No,
Yeah, you haven't been listening, huh?
no, I do listen a lot, especially when name's Steph. Also,
No, no, but I actually will go back and forth on it. So if you want to say Steph number one, I'm not gonna necessarily fight you on it. I think my only problem with Steph is the his defensive end of the game. But like, it's not even that like he was like bad defensively or anything like that. I think when you're just like comparing him to Magic Johnson as a point guard, I think Magic Johnson revolutionized the point guard position, but I think Stephen Curry enhanced the three ball and shooting just as it is. Because nowadays everyone just wants to shoot three, me included. But I think that what the point guard position is before Steph Curry came was like straight like, okay, I have the ball and I'm gonna go do my thing. And Magic Johnson was just like, he was 6'9", he was a tall point guard, he had a hook shot. I think people don't give credit to how good his hook shot really was because of the fact that he played with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for like a part of his career, but he did enhance it. Like most of like, I guess the highlights or the games that I watched of Magic, he has a great hook shot. Like
he does,
his
with
hook
both
shot,
hands too.
it would,
So
yeah, both hands too, and it's crazy. Um, I also think that he was pretty, I guess, quick for his size. Um, I heard someone like compare him to like Ben Simmons or something like that. I don't think he'd be like Ben Simmons today, but I do think that just as a player, even like his jump shooting,
you don't think he'd be as good, or you don't think he would be that prototype of player?
I think I think he'd be as good, if not better, than what he was in the 80s. The 90s, I don't like. I haven't really watched much of him in the 90s besides the finals. But did he come back from the 95 All Star game? I think he came back for like an All Star game or something.
Something. I think he was on the dream team too, despite not
Yeah. Larry Bird had a back issue. Okay. Yeah, that's besides the point. But I think that Magic Johnson just like as a player, he could do a lot of things on the court and just like transition offense. I think you say that half court offense is like more important to you than transition offense, is
being. I
it?
think in certain settings it is.
Oh, sorry guys.
I think also about the transition offense, I think he benefits a lot from that era, having slow lumbering bigs that couldn't get back on defense in
Mm.
transition. Now you have a lot more athletic, even in the regardless, they compared to this modern era, you couldn't have you couldn't you. It's a lot harder to have the level of transition offense that the '80s had because you have more mobile, quicker players compared to then, especially big men that can actually come back and protect the rim in transition. Like you'd have two 7-footers or near 7-footers that would just run back, try to protect the rim. And like what are you supposed to do when Magic's racing down the court and he's 6'9" and you're 7'1" or 7 foot? Like you're not gonna catch up to him. It's a lot harder to do that.
Yeah,
So I think he benefits a lot from that fact.
sure. I think yeah, there's just like I don't even know how to explain it. Like he, what was a five-time champion,
5 time champion.
five-time champion, three-time Finals MVP. Was like two-time MVP? Was it? I think
2. I don't
two,
think he won 3.
two-time.
He might have.
So he has the same amount of MVPs as Steph. I'm not gonna go and compare accolades anymore. But the things with Steph is just like his when I look at his career and his like
3 time MVP.
three-time MVP, my bad. When I look at his career, I think that Steph definitely enhanced the three ball at like a skyrocketing rate. But when it comes to just like, I guess I always go back. I just think about 2016. I don't. Although the fact that they did come back from a 3-1 deficit from OKC, but when they came
Steph
against
was injured.
Steph, yeah, Steph was injured. When they did come back from when they did lose, sorry, that 3-1 lead. Although Draymond Green had a suspension, I don't I don't see that happening to Magic. And so,
He
well,
did though.
what do you mean?
He didn't lose 3-1, but he's played horrible in the playoff in the finals before.
Sure.
And it's like I think circumstance does matter, but I don't think I think one a fully healthy Magic. If like I don't participate in the narratives like all that much. I think narratives actually take away from the game more often than it actually adds to
Sure.
it. But I think it's I don't even know if it's a narrative. I think it's more embarrassing that fully healthy Magic Johnson he was getting he played so badly and I forget what year. And I think it was 84. No, 83 I think. When he played so bad in the finals and he was just like devastated. It was against the Boston Celtics. He was throwing turnovers out left and right, playing horribly, shooting badly. Like it was just a really bad finals. Like, I think is kind of. I think Steph probably played worse, but then again, I think context also matters. That Steph was injured. He came off 2 injuries, I think, or it was just one with the MCL or something to do with a banged up knee.
Right, he came back against the Trailblazers, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that matters that Steph was injured that playoffs. But it is what it is. With 2016 run, 2016 run.
Sure. Yeah. That's why I say I go back and forth with it. If you want to say Steph is the greatest point guard of all time, I'm not gonna argue with anyone about it. I would have if Steph wins like one more ring, or even if he doesn't, I'll still like if someone says Steph is the greatest point guard of all time, I'm not gonna fight someone about it. But I just think with like how good Magic was as a transition player. Like you said, he was top three or something.
I think bare minimum.
Bare minimum top three. Um, the fact that he can look over people at his size, going down the lane, had a lot of. He was very quick for his size. Although, be it like you mentioned how like the bigs back then were like slower and I guess
Very lumbering.
very lumbering. I heard lumberjack when you said that, but you have people like James Worthy and Byron Scott coming down the lanes with him. I think that yeah, the Showtime Lakers were just something different, but also just who he was. Like he had his head on a swivel. He was one of the greatest passers of all time.
He is. I think he is.
Yeah, he probably is too.
We haven't spoken about that like, at all, but I think Magic is the greatest passer.
Yeah, so like things like that, and it's just like I don't know. I also think I was watching it last night. I also think that he does have he shot I think 52 from the field. I think I do think he was a pretty good mid range shooter. Um, when they like sagged off him, pretty good or good. I mean, you can go like I'll accept
I mean,
anyone.
he had good touch from there, but it wasn't even a jump shot. I don't know. He benefited a lot from people saying, "Yeah, we'll live with you shooting from there."
Sure,
So I don't know.
but I mean, if they pressed up onto him, then it was like
Yeah,
back down.
I also don't know why they didn't offer like late contests very often in the '80s. It was either I'm gonna leave you wide open or I'm gonna I don't know. Actually, I think it was just I'm gonna leave you wide open or semi-open. I was, and then for maybe like Larry Bird, they were contesting that, like actually trying to contest. But even for Larry Bird, it wasn't consistent.
Yeah,
Regardless, yeah, I think Magic is incredible. I think he is very deserving of being number one if you think that he is number one. One thing about Steph is he he changes how offense is operating. Like
That's absolutely sure. True. Sorry.
when you look at just a simple pick and roll, right? Especially during his best seasons, the different coverages for pick and roll, you can switch it, you can play drop, you can hedge and recover, and you can I try icing it, but during Steph's prime, you can't switch for most teams. The Houston Rockets had the personnel to switch, and that actually did work solidly on Steph. You can't for most teams you can't switch during his peak because he was quick. He's one of the greatest ball handlers of all time, so he can drive by the big man and get to the rim, or he can pull back and shoot mid-range shot, which he was. I think he's an elite mid-range shooter. Low volume though, but yeah. Or he could shoot that three at a 40% clip on pull-ups. You can't play drop coverage. Watch the 22 finals. You cannot play drop coverage on Steph.
Oh my!
You
Al
cannot
Horford was getting
you
fried.
cannot let Steph walk into even 30-foot shots, 30 feet jump shots. You just can't do that. Ice. You can't really ice the screen because then he'll flip it back to Draymond, come back for the screen, and now your big man's on the complete opposite side of the screen, so he can have decisions about what reads to make. Um, you can't hedge either because then Steph's hitting Draymond in the roll, and that's the thing. You have to account for. I don't think I believe how Steph creates space is a form of his playmaking. The way only Steph and probably Dame, but Dame didn't make the same reads in these situations. But how far players had to come out to guard him, it put almost every player that played with Steph downhill in 3-on-4, 4-on-3 advantages. Most NBA teams are properly executing a 4-on-3 in most situations. He creates so much space, and during those years in the 2010s, the Warriors also were some of the most efficient. I think they were the most efficient team around the rim, also because instead of guarding the rim, which in 99.999% of teams in NBA history, it was we're gonna guard the rim and then we're gonna guard the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, on the Warriors, every single year, because of Steph and Clay, but mostly because of Steph and the offense built around him, you were guarding the 3 before you even thought about the rim. For most of those years, I don't think that's probably taken into account how weird that is compared to not almost every, literally every other player in NBA history. Steph shoots damn near the same percentage off. Not damn near. Steph is the best catch and shoot 3-point shooter ever. Like yeah, during 2016 he shot 50%, which is insane on catch
Golly.
and shoot. But off the dribble, he shoots like 40+% off the dribble, which is insane to maintain that same level of volume. Like 5 threes off the dribble, shooting 40+% is insanity. Off movement, he's the best off ball player ever as well. One of the best ball handlers. This is sounding like a Glaze fest from Glaze session for me, but
It's all right. It's your
yeah,
favorite player.
Bun the GOAT point guard talk. We need to get into Isaiah Thomas. We need to talk about Isaiah Thomas. That gives me no to talk.
What
No.
about Isaiah Thomas do you not like about it? Like I'm willing to say okay, Steve
You gave him way more credit as a scorer than he actually is. Like he took so many jump shots, and he was not a good got a jump shot maker. He jump shot shooter. He did not get to the rim and finished at the rim nearly as much as people somehow think that he did. He was small, he was quick, but he couldn't finish amongst the giants like other players could. So he was a very inefficient player. From I think almost every year of his career, bar two or something like that, he was below league average efficiency. He was not a good scorer. Yeah, that's not true. He was a good scorer because I think there's value in being able to carry your team's scoring load in the way that he did. But he was not a great scorer like some people think he is, or like even that good. He was a good passer. Yeah, I think he was a good passer. He was an average defender. Average. And
Yeah.
that do not. He offered good hands, good in passing lanes, but outside of that, I don't think he was a good defender. And I do think there's actually an honest conversation about. I would say Isaiah Thomas, but I don't think there's like a massive gap in terms of scoring between Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars. In my opinion, I do think Isaiah Thomas is probably the better scorer, but I just don't see how someone that isn't as inefficient as him, an average defender, a good playmaker and passer, bad at getting the easy and more efficient shot. On no area on the court was he efficient. None. He wasn't good in the mid range, wasn't good at three, wasn't good at the rim. I do give him credit because he was a good volume. There is value in being a volume shot taker and being able to create shots the way that he did. But overall, I think that has to account for something. I just don't understand how you can have him over players that are genuinely some of the greatest offensive players ever, even if they're bad defenders. I think that's more valuable than being a average defender to slightly above average and being like a good offensive player that Isaiah Thomas was. I don't think he was anything above a good offensive player,
Hmm.
in my opinion.
So would you have him like you have in your honorable mention? So I assume that you have like people like Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Chris Paul, all above him.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I think that just like the way he utilized, I guess, like the likes of Bill Laimbeer or Dennis Rodman, um, I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did for them. I think obviously they were defense heavy, like I mentioned, but the fact that he was able to still like average 9 assists, or that the way that he moved, the way that he created his own shots, like you mentioned, I think that has to be taken into account. And like what you said about him being like inefficient from like three, he shot a lot of threes, which he shot 29% from three. That's horrendous. Oh my gosh. I do think that is something that is something you can hold against him. But I just think that the way that he created shots for himself, especially in like the team that he was on, like if there was no Isaiah Thomas, there was probably like no chance that that Piston team was ever going to be significantly
But then
good.
if there's no like Bill Laimbeer, I don't know if they win a championship. Like for example, let's say I think um I think a lot of Isaiah Thomas being the third best point guard ever is held together by the fact that he won two championships. I do think it's impressive. One context: Larry Bird was old and crippled. Magic Johnson was injured for half of that playoff series, half of that final series. And then, if for example, I think winning bias does a lot of disservice actually to the basketball discourse because
Sure, yeah,
if a player like Dennis Rodman got injured, do they win? Do they win the series against the Bulls? Maybe, I
yeah. We
don't know.
talk about
They
that a
probably
lot.
would. They definitely would. Bulls weren't good. But were they? Yeah, they were pretty good.
They were good.
Yeah, they
Even
were
when
good that
Scotty
year.
was a
They were
rookie,
good
they were
that year.
pretty
They were good that year. I'm thinking about the earlier Bulls. But
cocaine infested Bulls.
they did love that cookie.
Yeah, they did, bro.
But if someone like Dennis Rodman was injured, hypothetically, and they end up not winning the championship, and both years, for example, let's say he pulls a clay, for example, God forbid, a player ever does that, but he tears his ACL, tears his Achilles also in consecutive years. Dennis Rodman is injured, and they don't win both of those championships. Isaiah Thomas plays the exact same way. Nothing about what he does change, but they just end up losing more, and they don't win those championships. I think a lot of people's tunes change wildly about who Isaiah Thomas was as a player, and I think it's yeah, a lot of winning bias in the fact that a lot of you're not the only one that has him at three. A lot of people have him at three, and I think it's almost solely because he was oh a recipient of being on honestly one of the best teams of that era.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that team plugged a lot of holes for him. Pause. On both sides of the court. I think honestly, I think he is a worse version of what Russell Westbrook was, except
Oh, really?
Russ, one, he didn't win, but two, Russ was much better at getting easier and more efficient shots for himself and for his other teammates. I think Russ was a better passer. I think Russ was a better scorer. I think Russ was a better defender, honestly, in my opinion. I don't. I think they're both around average, but I think Russ holds much better in isolation than Isaiah Thomas does because of the strength, his athleticism, his ability to move laterally. Russ wasn't a good off-ball defender, though. I think all that stuff combined. I think I don't have a problem with people combining accolades and into their player evaluation, but I think that does a lot of heavy lifting for where Isaiah Thomas is ranked.
Sure. There is like a lot of bias and like I guess with him winning 2 rings. I did actually think for a long time that he was a 2-time Finals MVP winner until I realized was it Joe Dumars or something like that? It's a Joe Dumars. I don't know if it was the first or second ring, but yeah. No. That being said, this is a long podcast. It's like probably like it's 40 minutes right now.
It's like an hour.
It's gonna be like an hour. It's probably gonna be an hour and 10. So I'm gonna let.
Hour 10?
I'll
How
let.
long was the first one? Like the first
I think
episode?
like 30 minutes. So an hour,
Probably
an hour 10.
20?
The first episode was like 20
20
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, this is so
I've
much
seen that.
further. I want
We
to.
had to go. We had to go for the long.
Yeah. Thing. But we'll definitely have him back on, guys. I want to go more into depth about like what he talked about because I definitely have more ideas about it. But this was episode 2, featuring Mopo and Evan. Uh, I'll see you guys next time. Let me know what you guys think about our top 10. Maybe you guys think Zeke being top 3 was outrageous, just like Evan, or maybe you guys think yeah, no, he talked into the mic about it too. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Just remember he's wearing a Yankees hat, guys, and the Blue Jays are in the ALCS right now. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Ciao.
Peace.